Yes, you are correct. And they have a code of ethics. One of the facets to that code of ethics is that they must tell the world everything they're going to do before they do it. Now, you have to understand their buzzwords. And when I learned that they had this code of ethics, one of the first things I noticed about them was that they would tell me things, but they would say them in such a manner that later on they would say, "We told you so," just like Katrina when it hit New Orleans.
Oh, you're talking like the Delphic Oracle, the Oracle at Delphi, who would always tell the truth, but never in a way that you'd quite know.
Yes, exactly. And remember that within about 2 to 3 weeks prior to Katrina hitting New Orleans, and I won't argue the fact of scalar waves and all of that today. That'd take an entire program within itself. But you remember that 2 to 3 weeks prior to Katrina hitting New Orleans, they came out with a movie, well produced, all over you could pick it up stations all over America. It was entitled Oil Storm. And in that movie, they told everything that happened with Katrina to a T. And then after Katrina was all over with, they said, "We told you so. Why didn't you listen?" Well, they're doing the same things right now. They're telling you everything they're doing. In fact, someone asked me the other day, "You think Chaplain Williams, the reason they tell you some of these things is because they know that you're on major talk shows all across America and that you could tell it?" I said, "Well, maybe that's true. And if it is, I'm glad that I can help people know what it is that the elite have planned to do." Let me try to explain some of their buzzwords to you so that you'll understand it, because they've given me some over the years that you'll find very interesting. Let me take an example of what's happening right now. You know what insider trading is on the New York stock market? There are two kinds of trading on the New York stock market, on Wall Street. There is insider trading, and then there is John Q. Public, who buys and trades through their broker. Now, insiders are required by law. These are the CEOs, the heads of corporations. And the New York stock market is required to keep a record of purchases and sales by insiders, and they call it insider trading. Now, go on your net, and you'll find this. Let me give you what we started to see, a trend. And then, of course, they verified this to me. Back in September of last year, the 13th through the 17th, there was 400 to 1. This is the way they calculate it, 400 to 1. 400 insiders were selling their own company's stock compared to one of John Q. Public, who didn't even know what was going on. Now, understand that many of these insiders are elitists. Not all of them, but some are. Then I've got it listed here week after week. I'll only give you 2 or 3 of them. November the 15th through the 19th of last year, there were 8,280 to 1 insiders selling on the New York stock market. We were flabbergasted. Then, here's the clincher, the last figures we have. January 10 through 14, 2011. Insiders that week sold $163 million worth of their own company stock, and not one single purchase was made by any insider that entire week of anything on the New York stock market. Now, what did they know that the average John Q. Public doesn't know? They knew what the elite had told them from behind closed doors, and they have bailed out of the New York stock market phenomenally. But what are they purchasing? Yes, that's what this gentleman told me back about 2 years ago. One day after our conversation, I was beside myself. And I said, "Wait a minute, how can I protect my dinner table? How can I protect my family?" He said, "Chaplain, there's only one way you can do it." And I said, "What's that?" He said, "If it's written on a piece of paper, it's worth the paper it's written on." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You must have our currency." And I said, "What is your currency?" He said, "It's gold and silver." Now, folks, I do not sell gold and silver. I am not a dealer. You couldn't buy any from me if you tried. But I'm telling you what they told me. He said, "Our currency is gold and silver." And he said, "If you want to save your purchasing power, spare your household, and you want something that's not depreciated," he said, "you've got to have our currency."
What people are more and more learning and beginning to understand is that anything that is a currency is simply a measurement of value that is controlled by politics, socio-political factors. Only gold and silver are actually money because they have real value inherent in the substance. And that's the reason why the globalists would say something like that, because they know the truth of it and most other people don't. Before we get too far, because we only have a few minutes left, and first I want to ask you, would you be willing to join us here once a month to discuss whatever nefarious schemes are being planned or implemented by the globalists?
Brett, I think it's going to be more exciting by the day, and with the things that they have told me, here's what I have done. I have put on 6 DVDs. Now, folks, please, I beg of you, 8 hours of professionally done DVDs. You will view the actual happenings. You must see them. 6 hours of DVDs of everything that the elite have told me for the past 2.5 years. Now, there's no other source you can get this. And I've just produced 2 CDs. After Mr. Farm passed away, by the way, he passed away a few weeks ago, after he passed away, I felt free to do this. This has never been done before ever in the history of the world, as far as I know. I have actually taken the voices of the elite themselves. You heard me correctly. You will hear their names. I don't hide them. You'll hear their names. You'll hear their voices tell everything they are going to do through the year 2012, and you will hear everything they've told me for the past 2.5 years. And I have been so startled by what I have learned within these past few months. I have listed 12 things that you must do immediately in order to spare your household. One of them is what Janet Napolitano told a friend of mine, and the elite have indicated the same thing to me. You positively must do 12 things in order to be able to sleep well at night, not to have to look behind bushes during the day, to spare your family and your household. And I beg of you to know everything that the elite are planning on doing. Please jot this number down. Now, yesterday there was such a big snowstorm out in the middle of the country that our office staff couldn't even get to the telephones. But I think they're there now. Please call toll-free 888-799-6111. And if you have trouble getting through, go on the web to prophecyclub.com, prophecyclub.com, and you'll find my materials listed, or toll free 888-799-6111. Everything the elite have planned through 2012.
What's on the horizon over the next few months, say the first 3 to 6 months of this year?
Well, first of all, we're going to see massive inflation in America, and people can prepare right now. The word that was given to me by these people is that there will be no shortage of food on the grocery store shelves. Now, much of this is going to sound rather unusual because you have to understand the mindset of these people in order to comprehend what they're doing. And I know this is quite the opposite of what some people are saying on some talk shows, but I have to give you what has been said. There will be no shortage of food on grocery store shelves, but you might go hungry. In fact, there'll be no shortage of food on the grocery store shelves, but you won't be able to buy it. Why? Because you won't be able to afford it. The American dollar is going to be dead. This is the word that I was given. By the end of 2012, the American dollar will be dead. That doesn't mean that it's not going to exist any longer. It merely means that its purchasing power will depreciate to the point that you may take a wheelbarrow load of dollars to the grocery store in order to buy a loaf of bread. If you are going to supply yourself with any food items, long storage right now, you must do it while you can still afford it, because you're going to see the dollar diminish. Now, one of the ways that this could happen is what's taking place over there in Egypt right now. Keep in mind, 30% of the world's crude oil travels through the Suez Canal on any given day. If they close that down, or if they close down the pipeline, the Suez pipeline in Egypt right now, or if they cause conflict in Saudi Arabia, where we get most of our oil from on any given day, then you would see gasoline prices go to $4, $5, $6, maybe $7 or $8 per gallon, depending on whether you could even buy it or not. Now, what does that mean? That doesn't mean that the price of gasoline has gone up at all. that means that the purchasing power of your money has diminished. Your Federal Reserve note no longer will buy what it bought before.
Well, it's the old bread lines where in Germany where you would have wheelbarrows of money for a loaf of bread.
Yes, and you see, gasoline is still 4 quarts to a gallon. It hasn't changed one iota. It's still the same. But they create a problem in order to diminish the purchasing power of the dollar. And as they said to me, you will have plenty of food on the grocery store shelves. And I said, why? Well, we can bring it in from anywhere in the world. New world order. We can bring in food for America from anywhere in the world. There may be a freeze in Florida, and the citrus is gone. So what? We bring it in from South America. Maybe there's a problem in California, and the strawberries are all destroyed. So what? We bring it in from some other country. There's not going to be a shortage of food on the grocery store shelves, but you may go hungry and not be able to afford it. Why? Because the dollar is going to diminish to that point. Likewise, you're going to see gasoline prices increase. Mark my words. You will see gasoline at the gas pump go to between $4 and $5 a gallon within 9 to 12 months. It's going to gradually creep up to that. You will see more and more conflict in the Middle East. Now, all of these things are things that they have said to me will take place. What's going to happen to gold and silver? Let me try to explain this because it's so important. As he said to me that time, our currency is gold and silver. And they're not going to let it be bothered. There won't be any restrictions put on it, and the price is going to go up and up and up and up. Mark my words. Don't worry about this little stall in the prices of gold and silver right for the past few weeks. It is going to take off shortly and go up like you cannot believe. All right, let me tell you what's happened. Here are the facts. You go on the web and prove it for yourself. Now, I know you've been taking a lot of things that I've said because I've said it. I want to give you some things now that you can prove for yourself. Go to the United States Mint sales of silver during the month of December and January. Here are the figures right here. During the month of December, the United States Mint sold 2,221,000 ounces of silver. This was the highest record sales of all time. It is scary. Why? Because of what happened the first 12 days. First 12 days of January, the month just passed. First 12 days of January, the United States Mint sold in 12 days alone 3,407,000 ounces of silver. And I just got this morning the totals for the month of January. Now, we're only up to the third day of February. For the month of January, the United States Mint announced this morning that they sold 6,400,000 ounces of silver. This is an all-time record in the history of the United States Mint. Okay, those elitists, the ones who sold on the insider trading, when they sold their stocks, what did they buy? I mean, don't you see the handwriting on the wall, folks, as to what the elite are doing? They're buying up every piece of gold and silver. Their corporate heads, who are of the insiders, not all of them are. All corporate heads, all CEOs are not of the insiders, but some are. And those who are have probably given words to others. As a result, they've bailed out of certain things, and they've begun to buy other things. So all of these are things that if you know what they're doing, then you can spare your household and spare yourself a whole lot of heartache, Brent.
Well, I a long time ago, I got gold and silver, so I feel very comfortable that when everything else crashes, I'll still be able to feed myself and my family. Pastor Lindsey Williams, we are out of time, but I want to thank you so much for being with us, and we're going to visit with the pastor every month from now on. I want to remind you again, you can call 888-799-6111. That's 888-799-6111. Or online, go to www.prophecyclub.com for information about Pastor Williams' CDs, DVDs, and your books available there as well?
Books no longer available. After that threat that I had 2 years ago, I ceased to print.
Got it. Okay. Excellent. Pastor Lindsey Williams, thank you again for spending this time with us, and we'll look forward to speaking with you sometime next month. And we're going to have him back with us every month now to talk about these issues, because there's never enough time to get, I had a laundry list here, and I didn't get to nearly all of it. So thank you again for being with us, and thank you for the courage and dedication. Pastor Lindsey Williams.